guys, and welcome back to another tutorial here on my Phil Bolter YouTube page. Today we're going to be using our gouache paints to create this lovely reflection along the lake during the night sky. This is going to be a fun painting to do, and we're going to be practicing how to do some gradients with our gouache paint. If you don't have gouache paint, that's okay. You could do this tutorial using acrylic paint at home. I'm going to be running through some of the art supplies that I'll be using today to create this wonderful painting, starting with our gouache paint. I'm going to be using permanent white, an ivory black. I'm going to be using an iris. You can use a purple. I have a cadmium red. I have a cadmium yellow, and I have an olive green. I'm also going to be using some watercolor brushes along with my gouache paint. And to do that, I'm going to be using this 1.5 inch wash brush by Princeton Heritage. I have some Winsor & Newton Series 7 round brushes here, and I have a round 4, a round 2, a round 1, and for some of the tiny details, I have a round 0. For my paper, I'm going to be using the Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press by Legion paper. It's 140 pound hot press watercolor paper, and I have it in a block form, so that just means that all the sides here are taped down. You can also use a canvas or any paper at home that you have to do this tutorial. You're also going to be needing a painter's palette. Today I'm going to be using this plastic painter's palette, and you're going to also be needing some water cups. I like to use 2, but you can use 1 as well. And last but not least, you're going to be needing a paper towel. And this is just to dry your brushes in between after you wash them. If you want to create a nice border along your paper, you can use artist's tape or anything that's not going to ruin the paper or rip it. And once you get all of your artist materials, we can go ahead and start. Let's do it. If you want to create the border around here, all you got to do is take some of this artist's tape, and let's see. And run it along your edges. Before I begin painting, I always like to take a little bit of line work on my paper. And to do that, I'm just using a very light 2B pencil. And I'm just going to start by making a horizon line. And I'm going to have a mountain coming this way. And a smaller mountain this way. You can always correct this with your paint too, but just like that. And I'm gonna mimic this for the reflection on the bottom. I like to know where our boats are gonna be, so I'm gonna place a little boat maybe over here. Okay, now that we have a little bit of our pencil line drawing down, we can go ahead and come in with our 1/2 inch wash brush and do some of the fun gradients that I was talking about earlier. So to do that, we're gonna start by doing a layer of the cadmium yellow across the bottom, running along these lines. So grab your cadmium yellow. We're gonna put a little bit on our color palette right here. A little bit of water, start mixing that yellow. Come up here. also going to be doing it on this bottom as part of the reflection along the mountainside, on the water down here. We're going to be mimicking what we have up top. It's okay to pass through the boats, or you can go around them if you're okay. Now that we have our first layer down for the yellow, we're going to go in and use cadmium red. While this is still a little bit wet, I'm going to use a little bit of our cadmium red, and we are going to go in and mix it. We're going to come right over the top and bottom of these. Now to do this gradient, we're using a little bit of water from our water cup, and we're just gently doing a stroke, blending the red into the yellow. So you're going to take a little bit of the water. I like to dab my brush off so it's not too red. Take a little bit of the water and come back in and lightly use that nice, clear, clean water, or some even with red. And you're just blending these colors together. Go up and down. And go as far down as you want. But just keep that motion of going up and down. And we're going to do it to the other side as well. Take a little bit of your red. And I'm just cleaning off my brush a little bit so it's not too red. I'm grabbing a little bit of that water and coming back in, and you can see that water just kind of act like watercolor with these and help blend these colors. Go up, back down into the yellow. Now that we got the red layer going down and it's looking still nice and wet, we can come in and use some of our iris purple to do the exact same thing that we just did, but this time we're going to go above the red. I'm taking some of this purple color, and this time we're going to go from where the red is all the way to the top, and here on the bottom, all the way to the bottom. Wipe off all the nice purple on your color. grab a little bit of that nice clear water, come back in and just go over those two lines, up and down, back and forth. Once you finish creating your gradients, you want to be sure to give this a little bit of time to dry. You could tell it's a little bit wet right here just by seeing how it kind of folds on the paper. That's just because we added a lot more water to the paper than we typically do with our gouache, and that's okay. It's acting more of like a watercolor paper right now, or watercolor, and it's just retaining a lot of water. So what it's doing is folding a little bit. If you have a canvas at home, it's probably going to dry a little bit faster than this, but just be sure to give yourself some time, let this dry. Last thing you want to do is ruin your gradient by moving your hand across it. So now's a good time to just go get yourself a nice cup of coffee or tea and relax before you move on to the next. All right, now that this has somewhat dried a bit, we're going to move on and create some of these hillsides along the lake. And we're going to start with a lighter shade of this dark green. And to do that, I'm going to use a little bit of this olive green. Put a little bit here on my color palette. And I'm also using Ivory black to darken this up. I'm just going to put a little bit right there in to the mix. I'm going to be using a Winsor & Newton Series 7 round 4 for this. Take some of my water and just get a nice mix going of this color. Once you get a nice dark green, we can come in, we're going to do this side of the hills. I'm going to go right along the horizon line, so just fill this in. For these other hillsides, I'm going to use a little bit of Ivory black and darken the green color that we already have going. So I'm just going to add a little bit right into our mix and create a darker shade that we already have going of that green. All right, now we can move on to creating a couple of our boats down here. It's going to add a lot of interest to this, but it's already looking really cool. To create this boat, we're going to be using two colors. We're going to be using our olive green and our cadmium yellow. This is just to give us a nice little brighter green on this boat. So take your olive green, add it to your color palette. Add a little bit of cadmium yellow, and I'm going to be using a Winsor & Newton Series 7 round 3 for this, and add a little bit of yellow to this green. All right, moving on, we're gonna create some of this darker color within the boat. And to do that, we're gonna use the same color that we used right here. So using some of that dark green that we already have, I'm continuing to use my round 3. And I'm just gonna go in here with that same color and color these boxes. And I'm gonna do just some light line work around this lighter green color, just like right here, just to give some definition to the boat. All right, now we can move on to the next boat. And to do that, we're gonna use another 2 colors. We're gonna use our iris color. I'm gonna go right back into my iris palette. And we're gonna also use our ivory black with this. We're gonna darken up a nice purple black color for this boat. And to do that, I'm also going to be using a little bit more of my finer brush. I'm going to be using a round 1. And make a nice dark purple color here, closer to black. Using that same dark purple color, I'm gonna come down here and create some more shadow on our boat with that nice dark color. Do a nice little curve. Go to here. Moving back to this other boat, now that it's dry, we can come in and do a little bit of this detail color by using just a little bit of this permanent white along with our iris color. So I'm gonna add a little bit of iris to my color palette and some of my permanent white. I'm going to be using a fine detail brush. This is a round 0 from Winsor & Newton. These are a little bit finer lines, so you're going to want to use something nice and fine for this. And we're gonna make something like a little bit in here. Pulling this side. Just like so. For our next step, we're going to add a little detail down here to this boat. It's just a little bit of green underneath this boat, and it's the same color that we used on the top. So grab a little bit of that green color with your fine brush, and we're just going to make this nice little color right here. Moving on for our next step, we're going to be adding just a line of yellow across this horizon, and we're going to use a little bit of yellow down here on our boat. So grab a nice liner brush if you have it, or if you have like a round one or the detailer brush, you can use those as well. For this, I'm going to be using a round one. Just take some of that yellow that you had before, get it nice and mixed again. All right, now that our boats are done, we have a nice little horizon on the lake. We can create some of these trees right here. And to do that, it's a lot of fun and we can be very just loose with it. And to do that, we're gonna start by creating another dark green color, or you could use the dark green color that you already used right here. So to do that again, grab your olive green and your ivory black, and we're gonna create a nice dark green color again. And for this, I am using Winsor & Newton round 3. Once we have that dark green color, we can come in around the sides of this and just have a lot of fun. And to do that, I like to keep my brush a little bit flat and kind of create branches by just kind of coming in and out. So you can kind of see right here, I'm going in and out and being loose with it. Just creating branches around the border of our painting. Kind of like here. All right, for our next step, we're gonna create one more shade of green for these leaves. And to do that, I'm just gonna be using our olive green again. We're gonna kind of create something a little bit closer to this shade. So get your color palette, use a little of your olive green there. And I'm just gonna take a tad bit of that darker green from earlier and mix it right into my olive green. And we're just gonna do a little bit of layering of this green on top of these leaves. Easy peasy. All right, for our final step, we're gonna be using our permanent white to create our stars and just a little bit of this highlight between the mountains and on the lake. So take your permanent white, find a nice clean spot in your palette. I'm gonna be using my nice fine detailer brush. This is a round 0 again. All right, there we go. We got our stars down. We got a nice little highlight. We're done. We could take off our tape and sign it down at the bottom. So let's take off the tape right now. Well, there we go. We just created an awesome painting of a lake reflected sunset. We got to experiment with our gouache by creating some of these nice gradients to create a nice sunset. And it was a lot of fun. It was a very easy tutorial. Anyone could do this at home. You could use your acrylic paints. But yeah, I would love to check out your pieces. So please hit me up in the DMs on Instagram at Bolter Design Co. You can hit me up on Facebook at bolterdesignco.com. Or if you would really like to send me a photo, please send it to me at my email at hello@bolterdesignco. If you would like to help support this channel, you can always find some merch or art prints at my website at bolterdesignco.com. If you would like to learn more about gouache, you can take my online course where I explore gouache, I tell you all my tips and techniques, and we have over 6 hours of pre-recorded content where you can come back to it and use it whenever you need to learn more about gouache. If you would like to help support this channel, you can always like and subscribe. And also, let me know if you love these tutorials in the comments below, and I will try to create a lot more of these fun tutorials for you at home. Again, I am Philip Bolter, and I have been your art teacher today. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the next one.